I want to welcome you to the conversation with our new Auditor General, Tim Defour. I'm Guy Shiraki. I serve as the CEO of the Chester County Chamber, and we welcome all of you with us. To begin our program today, I want to turn it over to today's sponsor, Marie Berry of Oswald Building Services, an active chamber member, and active in a number of our programming and events, and a proud sponsor for their participation and activity in the chamber. I'm very grateful for their sponsorship today. I'm going to turn the floor over to Marie, and then she'll hand it over to Mike Stefano, who's our treasurer. As a reminder, I would ask that everyone who is not speaking be kind enough to keep your microphone on mute, other than speakers. Thanks very much. Marie, thank you again, and good morning, or I guess now good afternoon.
Thank you, Guy. Good morning, or good afternoon. Sorry, everyone. My name is Marie Berry. I work with Oswald Building Services, and we are a commercial janitorial service provider. We focus on protecting and managing our partners' best interest and the overall health and safety of the communities that we serve. Our knowledge and commitment have made us a critical partner in surviving these challenging times. We've made it a priority to provide strategic guidance and execution of all of our plans. Communication is one of the biggest keys to everything that we do. We believe in providing services with honesty, integrity, and fairness. If you have any questions, need any guidance, please reach out. We are up to date with everything with CDC, FDA, EPA. So please call me with anything that you need. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, Marie. I'm Michael Stefano, and it is my pleasure to introduce the brand new Auditor General, Tim Defour. Mr. Defour has over 25 years of law enforcement experience and auditing experience. Mr. Defour has a track record of fighting for us, the taxpayers. Mr. Defour is not a career politician, and he is, in his bio, says he is tired of the politics as usual in Harrisburg. So with that said, let me introduce the brand new Auditor General, Mr. Defour. Mr. Defour, the floor is yours.
Michael, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Guy and the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry. And also I'd like to thank Marie and Oswald Building Services for sponsoring today's event. It's a pleasure talking to you. So what I really would like this afternoon to be about is a conversation. So I've been giving speeches, political speeches, and speeches after I've gotten elected to different groups, different organizations. But you are the small business leaders of Chester County, of your region. And one of the things that I want to do, I really want to hear from you, because I understand during these times what you're going through. You sustain the business life into your local communities. Let's face it, it's the small businesses that are hurting with regards to what's happening during COVID-19 and small businesses being shut down. And it's the small businesses that are hurting. Now, I heard something this morning that I found totally amazing. It was something about Amazon, and that during this COVID-19, Amazon, of course, they've done a bang of business because no one's going out anywhere. Everybody's ordering things through Amazon. But they have, every month, they have been able to save $60 million. Yes, $60 million a month, because they don't have to pay for their employees traveling, and they don't have to pay for their employees' meals. And they've taken that $60 million, not necessarily done other things in the community or helped other businesses or the suppliers that supply them. They reinvested it. And the person who was leading this conversation was saying that's one of the reasons why the stock market is doing so well, because all these larger companies are saving because their employees aren't going out and they're reinvesting it. Therefore, the stock market is doing well, kind of given a false narrative with regards to how things may be doing, because again, it's the small businesses that are suffering, and they aren't included in that narrative. Now, some of you know, prior to me being elected Auditor General, I was Dauphin County Controller. My office is right down in downtown Harrisburg. And during this the COVID business shutdown, I would walk down the street and I would see all these businesses that are shut down because of government. Government shut them down for some reason we're still trying to find out. And as many of you may know, my office, we are going to complete the business waiver process that Eugene DePasquale started. So that's something that my staff in my office is currently working on, and we hope to have that finished in a few months. And that's going to really tell the tale of why certain businesses were shut down and others weren't. And unfortunately, a lot of the businesses who were shut down aren't going to reopen, which is disheartening. And it's disheartening because you have individuals who saved their entire life or may have retired from another position to start their own business. And the business may have been doing well. And now because of government shutting the business down, they've lost everything. And I've always been of the opinion, and this really isn't a secret, and I've been saying this for quite a long time, that if businesses are being shut down because government requires it, and for good cause, then I feel that it should be government that should assist those businesses, not only that they stay open, or some of them that they can hopefully reopen. So so that in mind, we have some work to do. And one of the things that my office is going to be doing, a lot of the COVID audits and how COVID funds were being spent by the Commonwealth and how funds were being allocated, we will be performing audits with regards to that. And it's going to be a pretty big task, but it's something that absolutely has to be done, because we have to find out, okay, why is it that so many businesses closed down? Why is it that some businesses who applied for a loan back in last April in one part of in one county, and then you have another business, exactly the same type of business in another county, one business got a loan, the other one didn't. So we have some work to do. And that's one of the things that my office is going to be doing. We're already starting to do some legwork. And hopefully at the end, what we plan on doing is producing a quality audit report, which will have some very valid and some very solid recommendations. And with those recommendations, we will then move forward to correct any issues that are currently happening and assure that they don't happen again, because we really don't know if there is ever going to be another shutdown. But if there is going to be another shutdown, if government has to be involved, we want to make sure that things are done the right way. So with that being said.
Are you done walking behind me?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, Tim, that was Margaret.
Hey, Margaret.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So a fellow controller. So so with that being said, does anybody have any questions or comments? Because what I wanted to do, I just wanted to have a very candid conversation with regards to what are your thoughts, what are your ideas, and more importantly, what are your concerns? Because a lot of there are going to be some audits that we're going to be performing that may not necessarily come from Capitol Hill. They may come from individuals such as yourself.
So I wanted to kick it off with a question, and then I'm going to turn to Senator Baker, retired Senator Earl Baker, who's on the call with our first question from the audience. But the first question is, could you do that a little bit more? Explain to us sort of the scope of what your office oversees, aside from the state budget. Are there different authorities, school districts, sort of what's your jurisdiction, so that we have some idea of the types of questions or ideas that we should be sending to your office?
A good question, and I'm sorry, I should have explained that earlier. Wherever taxpayer dollars are being spent, my office has the responsibility and the authority to audit how those taxpayer dollars are being spent. That's with regards to your schools. That's with regards to different state agencies. That's could be with regards to a particular program that's funded by state government, and that also includes your pensions for your fire departments, pensions for your police departments, and we're also have some responsibility with regards to your local and municipal pensions. So basically think of it this way. Think of wherever your tax-paying dollars are being spent. The Auditor General has a role and responsibility and the authority to audit to assure that those tax-paying dollars are being spent in a way that they're to be spent.
Thank you. Senator Baker. Earl, good morning. Do you have a question? You usually have one or two really good ones. I hate to put you on the spot, but I thought I'd give you a chance to kick it off. Let's see, is he on? He's on mute. Let's see, one more time. Oh, he's on mute and I can't. Here we go. Senator. Hi, we can hear.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, I can hear you, Senator.
Okay, good. General, congratulations on
Thank you
being
very
where
much.
you are.
Thank you.
I know it took a lot of effort, let's say politically, but now you're there in a policy position. And one of the things that different auditors general have varied on is to what extent do they view their job simply as an accounting function versus an analytical function? In other words, the term program audit is sometimes used, and I think that the basic function is an accounting function, but then you can take it somewhat further. And so from your experience and your observation and from your instincts, do you think that you will be doing more in the way of substantive evaluation or sticking more to the accounting side?
We're going to do both. As far as the audits with regards to the accounting side, the financial audits, those are things that we absolutely have to do. Those are things that are mandated by the Pennsylvania Fiscal Code. So we have to do that. And also, and this is something that we auditors absolutely love, on those financial audits, we get audited. And I'll tell you right now, if there's anything an auditor hates, is to be audited. So we get audited on those financials. But also, I've always stated, and I've always done, there's another side of auditing. It's called continual process improvement. And what that is where you look at certain departments, you look at certain areas where you may invest a lot of money, or look at a particular department and look at a program that there may potentially be some issues, and you audit it to determine if those programs have been working the way in which they should. So as far as the way that I see it, there's two-sided. There's the performance, which includes the continual process improvement to determine if something is performing in which the way it was intended to perform. Because a lot of times you really don't hear about that. You may see a press conference occasionally, and there may be this big celebration about this program that's being implemented. Well, one of the things that doesn't happen a lot is that someone needs to then go back maybe 6 months to a year later to determine whether or not that program is in fact working, or is it just draining money out of the state's bank accounts. So that's something I'm going to be doing. But in the financial audits, we're definitely going to still continue to do the financial audits, because that's what we were required to do, and that's what we're audited on. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that's a great answer.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions that folks have? Please enter in the chat box or raise your Zoom hand. I think we're all at this point hopefully familiar with it. One of the other questions that I received was, you mentioned it earlier in your opening remarks, General. Could you explain to us what's the best way to contact your office if we have a suggestion? I mean, again, every once in a while I may say, gee, this is fraud, you need to know it. But there are other times, just business people, you say that this process just doesn't make sense. You know, how should we reach out to you?
Yeah, I can give you, as I'm looking around to see if I have my card, because I've been my 4th week in office. I can give you my contact information, and then please feel free to give it to your members, because one of the things that I encourage everybody to do, and I've said the same thing with my staff. I pretty much have an open door policy. And if there's something that that concerns you, something that you would like to talk about with regards to something that you've observed, then I either myself, my chief of staff, or somebody in my staff would be more than happy to sit down and talk to you about that. Because again, as far as especially on the performance audit side, a lot of the information that we're going to get, or that we do get, we get it from people such as yourself. So the best thing for us to do, and also your taxpayers too, I assume, as I am. So yeah, so I'll give my information to Guy, and please feel free to use it.
That's terrific. I very much appreciate that. We're going around the horn. We now have several questions in the queue. First, we're going to go to Tom Chimento. Tom serves as actually the chairman of our board. So Tom, you're up. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hey, good afternoon, General.
Tom, how are
Great
you?
to have you. I'm great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm Tom Chiamento. I'm with Pennsylvania American Water Company. I apologize. I was a few minutes late to the call, so I don't know if you covered this, but I mean, you always have known the value of the Auditor General's office, but it seems more than ever we need you as a Commonwealth. And
Thank
this
you.
isn't a partisan issue. It just
Right.
seems like government is broken in so many areas. We have seen the failings of government over and over again. Unfortunately, it's sad. In the last year, from what happened at the Department of State with missing deadlines to get questions on the ballot, to now the most recent Department of Health screw up associated with the vaccines. There also seems to be just a lack of accountability on these issues, and I don't know if you talked about that, but it also spans Department of Environmental Protection, and oftentimes it's the Office of Auditor General can be used. I mean, it is used for good in terms of helping improve the services that are delivered by our government. But DEP, for example, in my view, is an underfunded agency. It has so many mandates, but doesn't have the people or the manpower or people power to do a lot of what it needs to do.
Right.
What are your thoughts, and do you have an agenda in terms of
Yep.
looking at those sorts of things?
Yeah, and you hit upon, and I briefly talked about it earlier, but you hit on some really good points. The one is funding, and to tell you about my department, the past 2 years, the Auditor General's budget was cut 17%. And right after I was elected, I met with every House and Senate appropriation leader to restore that funding, and they stated why and I won't go into details. They stated why that budget was cut. So hopefully we're going to get some of that back in order so we can go out and start being more aggressive and doing some of the things that you're talking about. But I believe what you were talking about goes to what I mentioned earlier about continual process improvement. As far as each of those departments, they have roles and responsibilities. They have programs which tax dollars are paying for. And one of the things that I plan on doing is going into those departments and determining, okay, are these especially when we talk about the high dollar, high profile processes, are they in fact working? If they're not working, why aren't they working? Do they need to be tweaked, or do they just completely need to go away? Because you hear about these programs when they're first implemented. There's this big press conference, and everybody's happy, and they talk about what it's going to do for the Commonwealth. But very rarely does anybody ever go back to check to see if that's working. And that's something that I did in the private sector. As far as being an auditor, I've been doing this type of work for 30 years. I didn't get involved with politics until 2015. Reluctantly, I had to go dragging and screaming to run for Dauphin County Controller. Because of my background and experience, which I did, and I changed the office in my first term. In the beginning of my second term, I was asked to run for this. Again, dragging and screaming. But I also knew, based on my experience, that I can make a difference. So I believe what you're talking about are the same things that I'm talking about when you're talking about making sure that there's that continual process improvement. That's something that I'm committed to, and that's something that also whoever the next governor is going to be, or lieutenant governor, and our legislators are also going to have to be committed to. Because you could have the best plan in place, the next administration could come along and say, we don't need that, and it's gone. So it has to be continued. It has to be continued. And that's what I at least plan on doing in my office.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have several questions for you so that everybody can get ready. We're going to go to Dave Hackett, then Steve Achel, Margaret, and then Mike Stefano. So Dave, you're on the clock.
Hi, General Dave Hackett.
David.
Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Was on the Republican State Committee and glad to endorse you and glad that you're a successful election. So
Thank you.
congratulations. With the vaccine rollout just seems to have been a total failure and very slow in Pennsylvania compared to other states. Is there something that you can do quickly, to sort of provide a best practices, be critical of why is Pennsylvania behind what other states are doing, and provide some recommendations of how they can change things so that we can, with the vaccines getting out there, hopefully we can open up businesses more quickly in our Commonwealth.
Right. Well, without getting into a lot of detail, I've had conversations with others about that. Very recent conversations. And I hope you understand that I can't get into any details right now, but that's something that is being discussed and something that is being addressed, because there are issues.
I'm glad you're on top of it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. So Steve, you're up, and then Margaret.
General Steve Achel, how are you? I'm a partner with the law firm of Saul, Ewing, Arnstein, and Lair that has offices in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and sort of around the rest of the East. But my question is related to a couple of comments you've made already. One is your willingness to, and I think rightfully so, undertake performance audits when necessary. And the second had to do with your budgetary concerns, which goes to your relationship with the legislature, your office's relationship with the legislature. Wondered if you've given any thought yet to how you establish those relationships, personal if necessary, with the governor's office and the legislature and others who will be the recipients of your audits. Guy knows, and others maybe, that I used to work in the governor's office, and I always admired your predecessor for not blindsiding. And I think that went a long way towards building his credibility in a job that really needs credibility. So what are your undertakings so far? What do you plan to do?
Well, what I've done so far since early to mid-December, like as I stated earlier, I've had meetings on Capitol Hill with the leaders, with most of the House and most of the Senate leaders, especially those who are on the appropriation committees. And we talked about some of the things that the Commonwealth is going to be facing and some of the things that I'm going to have to do with regards to making sure that the funds, especially we're talking about COVID funds that are being dished out, making sure that they go to where they're supposed to go to. And also with regards to, there's the voting issue and the vaccine issue. So my office is going to be more than a little busy, and they understand that. So we had a few very nice, polite and candid conversations, and they understand. So I don't look to have the entire 17% that was taken out the past 2 years restored in this year's budget, but there are just some budgetary items that we're going to need. And one of the things that I found out yesterday, and this kind of shocked me, is that all our auditors only have one monitor. I mean, if you're going to effectively perform an audit and do the work that they're doing, you need two monitors for several different things. But what I'm meaning by that is that we have to have the right equipment to do the job. When our auditors are out in the field, they shouldn't have to be in a parking lot trying to steal Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks Wi-Fi just to do their job. That's what's happening.
Yikes. Okay,
Thanks.
and our county controller, Margaret. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm sure it goes without saying, Tim, that all the rest of us, I'm going to speak on behalf of all the rest of us controllers about how proud we are of you. So congratulations on your win.
Thank you, Margaret. It's good seeing you again.
It's good to see you too. I guess just out of curiosity, what is the biggest difference that you've noticed between your new job and your past role as controller?
Probably the biggest difference is, well, at least in the Auditor General's office, I only deal with the audits. As controller, as you know, I dealt with the audits. I dealt with
Payroll and
retirement, dealt with payroll, dealt with accounting. But with this one, it has to me, a larger impact on the state as whole. Not that the county didn't, but this one is more impactful, and the results, the findings of the audits could ultimately lead into legislation. And there's a couple pieces of legislation that are being bounced around that I've reviewed pertaining to the elections that are rather interesting. But pretty much it's now focused on one thing, but what I do is a lot more impactful than the county. Not saying that the county isn't important. I mean, if it wasn't for my role in Dauphin County, and you know this, I never would have got elected Auditor General, which says something about us controllers. we have to do it all. And as you know that, Mark, we have to do it all. We had a pretty tight group with the State Controllers Association.
we did. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, I'll be back to visit.
Good.
But we had to know every aspect as a controller. We had to know every aspect, every financial aspect of county government, and that definitely helps me with regards to my current role.
Thank you. Mike Stefano, who began our program and is our treasurer for our board. Mike?
General, so as being a auditor myself, I agree with you 100%. If you don't have two monitors, it's really, really hard to do your job. It's very difficult. But the main question I have is that you have such a large job, a big responsibility, huge responsibilities. What do you see as success for you over the next, a short term? How do you get some wins to get some momentum to get things done? What are the things you can do in the interim or the short term that can really lead you to success in this job?
Well, one thing is, again, making sure that the staff that's working there, that they do their job, and that at the end they produce a quality audit report. A quality audit report that has presented timely and has some solid recommendations. If there's any findings, has some solid recommendations. And so those are pretty much the short-term wins, ensuring that the staff has the tools to do their job, and having them understand that I have their support. But if you're talking about auditing, as far as a certain type of audit, and I think that's what you're talking about, what audits in particular. Right now, that's a tough question, because there's so many things that are going on. You have the election, you have COVID. You have right now we have a new system that's being built in the Department of State, which is called the SURE system, which holds all the county information with regards to the registered voters. And my predecessor performed an audit on that a couple of years ago, and there were 7 findings and 50 recommendations. So with the Department of State building this new system, the first thing that I'm thinking about is, okay, whatever's in this new system, are they going to have whatever functional requirements that system has? Is that going to include the 50 recommendations that we made, or is the output of what they're trying to put in this system, is that also going to include the recommendations? So right now, that's probably the thing that's always in the back of my mind. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up, and the last thing I think about when I go to bed, is as far as those bigger audits like that, are things being done in which the way the Department of State and other departments were asked. So I don't know if that is,
Yep,
okay.
essentially what I need. Thank you.
The General, the last question I want to pose, we would be remiss if not asking it. One of the biggest things that we saw happen in 2020 was an unemployment compensation system that was just a nightmare. The folks working at it were overwhelmed. People applied and sometimes waited 9 or 10 months to get their checks. Was an audit be initiated prior to your arrival? Will be, and what are your thoughts as we try to figure a way to fix that system so that nothing like that ever happens again?
Well, there was an audit that was done by my predecessor, and there were substantial findings and also recommendations. And as with any audit like that, we're going to our responsibility and what we're going to be doing, and we also said in the audit that we will follow up and make sure that those recommendations are fixed. So that's something that we're currently looking into right now, because that's a big one, because there's still, again, there's still individuals that are out there. And this is mind blowing to me. Individuals that are still out there who applied for unemployment last April and still haven't received an unemployment check. And if you hear about the numbers going down, that's why people and going down with regards to unemployment, people have just given up,
Right?
Because the system just it just couldn't handle the workload that that it was handling.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and you said it very passionately in your remarks earlier. If the government is the reason that your business was closed, if the government is the reason that you as a taxpayer, as a citizen, don't have a job or aren't allowed to go to work, a minimum threshold should be, if you're entitled to unemployment and you fill out the form, you should get it. And the only thing worse than the government closing down your business is making you wait 3, 6, 7, 9 months or longer for an unemployment check. And if it's a systemic or a structural issue, then it ought to be fixed, and we ought to know about it, because we can't, in an era of where you can do things quickly, you can order a replacement inkjet cartridge and get it tonight. That shouldn't happen. So right. I know when you're you have to go for another obligation. So I just want to turn it over to our chairman, Tom Chimento, to wrap things up. Tom?
Sure. General, again, thank you for joining us today. And I know you've got a busy schedule, and just on behalf of the chamber, I'd like to say, thank you, but also best wishes, good luck. And we need you. We need a good watchdog in government. We need your office to do, the things that we've discussed today, to keep government accountable and doing what it needs to be doing. So thank you very much for joining us today.
I appreciate it. And once again, thank you for the invitation. And I look forward to coming back.
We'd love to have you back.
We look forward to having you in person. Have a great day.
Yeah,
absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.